God, 2 chapters left. It was supposed to be 4 hours. We're at 4:15. When the night train finally stops at Gare Saint Jean, and I go up the platform to emerge into the gloom of Bordeaux, at the turning of the year, I am overwhelmed by an odd sense of relief. Perhaps it's what they call homesickness? Even if I've only been away from Bordeaux for a few days, it feels as though an age has passed since I began the adventure, which took me to Paris and onward to the primeval lands of northern Scotland. Out of habit, I jump on a tram, then my steps take me to my apartment in the Saint-Pierre district. It's only when I go through my bag and I pull out a bunch of keys, which in no way resemble my usual house keys, that I realize that I probably don't live in the same place in this reality. And for that matter, perhaps I don't even live in Bordeaux at all. I check the time, it's past noon. My brother doesn't usually pick up at this time of day. When he's not lunching with customers, he tends to leave his phone on his desk in his office. I tap on Marie's number as I walk towards a little bistro where I like to eat. She's both surprised and delighted to hear from me and assures me that I can sleep at their place this evening, no problem at all. I eat a quick salad followed by a double espresso to fight the fatigue from the night journey in the sleeper car before I head towards Saint-Michel. I consider passing by the apartment I shared with Ulysse, in case he still lives there in this reality, before deciding that it would probably be more productive to go straight to see Mark at the store. Why? Just go check there. God damn it. When I find myself before the storefront, I'm surprised to find not a record store, but a florist. I check several times that I have the right address, looking at the surroundings, then backing into the road to compare the position of the building with my memory. There's no possible doubt in this reality. It would seem that Mark's store simply doesn't exist. I go inside to inquire, and the young woman at the cash desk confirms that there was a record store here in the old days, but it's been 2 or 3 years since her boss took over the lease. However, she's unable to tell me what became of the previous occupant, nor give me his new address. With nothing to add, I leave, dazed and rather worried. Maybe my brother and my sister-in-law will be able to tell me more. I send a short message to Marie and suggest that we meet in our usual brasserie. She answers that it would be easier if I come straight over to her place at the end of the afternoon. I decide to go for a walk around town while I wait. When I ring the bell at their home, she has just arrived. Hello, Alice. What a nice surprise to get your message. It's been ages since we saw you. I hug Marie and follow her into the living room. I take a peek into the crib without disturbing my little niece, who is fast asleep. I told Robin you're here. He's delighted that you've called us. He's stopping to pick up a few things on the way home from work, and we'll eat at home if that's okay with you. We both have a big day tomorrow. Yes, of course, it's all fine with me. I'm sorry to have let you know so late. Can I get you a drink? With pleasure. Marie makes a gin and tonic, and what is with the gin and tonic in this? Like, calm down. And opens a beer for herself. Then we sit down in the living room. So, how's London life? So are you still working in your clothes store? It requires a considerable effort from for me to conceal my surprise that all the information that Marie has just landed on me about my new life. As I suspect, I no longer work in banking, and it would seem that I now live in London? Fuck! I could have gone to London. Yes, it's all fine. Same old, Mary laughs. Same old thing for you. As far as I can see, your life's so rock and roll that there's nothing old about it. What brings you to Bordeaux? This is a moment to ask about Ulysse, but I need to approach it with finesse. I have no idea how to explain to Marie that my memories of the past 3 years have gotten nothing to do with what happened in this reality. Do you remember Ulysse? Marie's face suddenly clouds over. Of course I remember Ulysse, but I'm amazed that you want to talk about him. know you were really hit by his death. Of course, he fucking died. Oh, no. I know you were really hit by his death, but it's a subject you usually want to avoid. Shouldn't have used that record. All of a sudden, it's as if the world was collapsing around me. His death. Marie looks at me with concern. I struggle to keep my composure. Ulysse is dead in this reality. It must be because of the record, because of me. Not knowing what to do in the face of my reaction, Marie grips my hand with affection and reminds me of the circumstances of his death whilst carefully avoiding my gaze. Yes, he was knocked down by a car about, 3 years ago? It was after that I must have moved to London. Are you sure you're alright? No, I mean, yes, sorry, it's just that it's all still very fresh, very vivid for me. Marie looks more and more concerned. I hope it's not that sex thing again. You scared us pretty badly with that at the time. It took you months to accept that the accident was really an accident. So, Alice in this reality, well, first of all, knew about the sect, but also considered them to have something to do with Ulysses' death. Yes, don't worry. Of course you remember Ulysses. What I mean to say was I came to Bordeaux to see Mark on his old business partner about some detail of the inheritance that are still on hold, and it's me who has to deal with it. Oh, that's good to hear. Marie looks vaguely relieved. But how about you? Tell me about your life in Bordeaux. How's life as a young mother? We chat for a while about this and that. Robin arrives, his arms full of shopping, just after Marie has poured us a second drink. He's thrilled to see me. From his point of view, it's been months since we last saw each other, a weekend at their place not long after their daughter was born. I offer to help him in the kitchen, but he insists that I keep Marie company. He shuts himself away in the kitchen whilst Marie and I continue gossiping. I try not to lose the thread of our conversation, but in a corner of my mind I'm trying to join the dots about what happened to Elise. I think back to what we said last time I listened to the record. I guess that in this reality, Elise didn't leave for Paris. And because he stayed in Bordeaux, Ava or the members of Iron Kairos were able to steal the record from him. And it cost him his life. Robin tells us that dinner is ready. I help Marie to set the table, then we eat the delicious risotto that Robin's prepared with a glass of white wine. I try to enjoy the moment, even if my thoughts are dragging me into the future and all its uncertainties. Elise is dead in this reality because of me. I realize that I can't accept this information, not while I have the possibility to find him again. Not while I have the possibility to put things right, to erase this reality, this fake world. No matter the cost of that success, I remember Enzo's story. The record stole the love of his life. Do I truly have a chance of success? It didn't work for him. No matter what happens, I have to try. I've taken my decision. I need the record, and I need to find a way to pry it out of Ava's hands. Arthur Pullman gave me the address of the lodge in Prague. Next day, first thing, I take a plane, direction Prague. It's already late when the bus from the airport drops me in Andel. The first flight I was able to find left in the early afternoon with the time for check-in and all the security checks. When you add an hour of travel by public transport to get to the center, the winter sun has almost set when I start walking down the long avenue along the side of Petron Park. Snowflakes begin to spin gently down as I turn into a small street on the right to enter this heart of Malestrana, the lesser town, which faces the old town across the river. The Lawrence Mansion is a great 19th century edifice with a edifice with a classically inspired colonnaded facade. English words. On the frontispiece, embossed in gold, Greek letters spelt out the words. What is the word? I don't know Greek. Do you know Greek, Alice? I'm sorry.
Eon Keros.
Aeon Keros. Okay. For all to see. I have two options. I could try the direct approach, ask to talk to Ava, and try to convince her to let me listen to the record. Or I could try to get into the building and hope to find the record and record player before the occupants detect my presence. In both cases, my chances of success look pretty slim. Let's try discreetly. I don't know if that's a good idea. I decide to opt for stealth. I can't see myself getting what I want by pushing open the door and requesting it from Ava, especially since I have nothing to negotiate with in return. I linger on the sidewalk opposite in the cold, trying to figure out the best approach. Obviously, with the winter weather, none of the ground floor windows will have been left open. I notice that there's a small door on the other side of the building that some solitary individuals seem to use it occasionally. Seizing my courage, I wait a few moments after the last person has gone in before pushing open the door. It leads to a small entrance hall with a doorbell. I ring, then go into a second long room with a counter on the right for a cloakroom. A man in a uniform suit greets me in English, tinged with a slight Czech accent, and asks me to leave my belongings with him. I hand over my bag and coat. In exchange, he holds out a numbered token and what seems to be a large piece of shiny black fabric, impeccably folded with a plain white Columbina mask placed on top of it. This evening promises to be rather Kubrickian. As I suspected, the fabric turns out to be a large cape which I slip on before donning the mask. Next room is a large salon, the walls hung with black and dressed with woodwork and moldings. About 30 people, dressed in what seem to be ritual garments, are gathered in small groups holding glasses of champagne. Most of them wear black capes, like the one I've been given. But I also notice one person with a red cape and two others with purple capes and silver masks. Probably to distinguish their ranks within the organization. There's one person who seems alone in a corner of the room. I could use her isolation to glean some information from her. No. I decide to stay in the background. I prefer not to take the risk of being discovered by getting into conversation. I take a glass of champagne as the waiter passes me, then I slip away to a corner of the room, waiting to see what will happen next. I've got no idea where the record is being kept, but it would seem that I've happened upon the evening when it's presented, with great pomp to the lodge members, which gives me the perfect opportunity to try to get it back. I try to eavesdrop on the conversations around me. The group next to me are speaking in reasonably fluent English, and I think I can make out different accents, which leads me to believe that the lodge members have come from all over the world for this occasion. It would seem that Ava has called an extraordinary council for some reason which my companions at a soiree aren't aware of. I'm immersed in listening discreetly when I feel a hand on my shoulder. And I turn. A man in a costume, now removed, looms over me. He speaks in a calm but firm voice, his English tinged by an East European accent. If you would follow me... Oops, my discreet approach has failed. I take a moment to weigh my options. I've got no plan B. I don't think kicking up a fuss will help me there. Here. Wait. The man appears to understand what's going through my head because he adds, "Don't be a fool, Alice." I let out a sigh. Fine. I allow him to escort me upstairs. As soon as we're out of sight to the other lodge members, he catches hold of my cape and pulls it off roughly. Your mask, please. I obey. We take one corridor, then another, before entering a large office. Eva sits at the other side of the room, writing on a sheet of paper. The record is next to her on the desk. She stops writing. Ah, thank you, Jakub. That's a Polish writing of the name Jacob. Is the East European just supposed to be Poland? I don't know what you hoped to accomplish, Alice, but I don't know. There's a bunch of, Eastern European countries that, would have a similar accent, so. I don't know what you hoped to accomplish, Alice, but we spotted you while you were contemplating how to enter the building. You should have come straight out and got me. It would save me from waiting in the cold. Eva smiles. I was curious to see what you were going to do. To be perfectly frank, I'd been expecting your visit. You've given us quite a hard time, you and your friend. What was his name? Elise. I turn to look at Jakub, who stands behind me. He looks away. Yes, that's it, Elise. Tell me, Alice, how did you find out that the headquarters of the lodge were in Prague? We generally manage to be inconspicuous, but it would seem that nothing stops you. What? Kitty? Arthur Pullman sends his regards. Baby. What are you doing? Arthur Pullman sends his regards. For a second, I think I see a flash of anger in her eyes, but a moment later she has regained her calm. Oh, my old Uncle Artie. Now that's a surprise. I confess we've completely lost touch with each other. I haven't heard from him in years. He was so unworthy of receiving the grace of the Koros that our whole brotherhood was punished for his transgressions. But after 13 long years of repentance and self-sacrifice, the Koros has finally been returned to us. What? Well, all families have their black sheep, do they not? It would seem that Eva has no idea of how Arthur took the record from them. She continues, Nevertheless, none of that concerns you, Alice. I don't know how familiar you are with the technicalities of our brotherhood's mysteries, so I'm going to try to explain things simply and precisely to you. As you can imagine, I'm a very busy woman, and you haven't chosen the best day to grace us with your presence. It has been brought to my attention that one of our brothers, Jakub Novak, Jakub Novak is straight up a Polish name, but not spelled like that. Here is maybe they chose to write it like that because, we write it with a W, and that would be Nowak, and that's not what that is. So, I don't know. Jakub Novak here is responsible for the accident which cost your partner his life in the last emanation. I suppose that your presence here, as well as your renewed determination to steal the chorus from us, is very certainly linked to this tragic death, is it not? I choke back an answer, choosing to stay silent and let Eva reveal her intentions. She lets out a sigh. Very well. I can see right through you, Alice. You're as transparent as water. But after all, if you wish to stay silent, you'll save us both some time, so I thank you. I have a proposition for you, Alice. You are a resourceful young woman. You've managed to thwart our plans and escape us several times. You've already heard the Kronos, which makes you de facto an honorary Grand Mistress in our organization. Join us. We'd be honored to count you as one of us. Wait. After all the enmity between us, after pursuing Elise for years, You're actually suggesting that I should join your organization? To be honest, most of all, I'm thinking of your capacity for causing trouble. Of course, if you accept, you will have access to the Koros as much as the other members who have reached the rank of master within the lodge. And if you refuse, then I will ask Jakub to escort you to the door, and I'm afraid we shall just have to put up with your trouble-making capacities. I can feel Jakub becoming restless behind me. It would appear that Ava's attitude is making him uncomfortable. I take a minute to weigh up pros and cons. Ava seems very sure of herself. She has the record and believes herself to be in control here. She doesn't appear to be aware of the danger she faces by letting me listen to the record again. With what Pullman said, I could completely change the destiny of all the people in this room and give myself the best chance of Ulysses being once more alive. By doing that, I know there's a strong possibility that I'll find myself in a completely different reality from everything I'm familiar with. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. On the one hand, I could, of course, pretend to accept, but I mustn't seem too enthusiastic about it if I don't want to alert her suspicion. On the other, I could also try to negotiate by promising to stop annoying them if she lets me listen to the record one last time. And I think that in her desire to be generous, maybe she'll accept... God, the cat. She'll accept my proposition, even if it's just to clear her conscience and that of the lodge. Eva waits patiently for my answer. I mean, it's more or less leading to the same result, right? Like, we're pretending to accept anyway. Very well, I accept your proposition. Really? That's wonderful. To avoid giving the impression of accepting too easily, I add, that doesn't mean to say that I agree with your values. I just want to have access to the record. Of course, I understand. All I ask in return is that you are present for the annual council. I have every confidence that our members will be able to convince you of the interests of our brotherhood in the long term. Hey, baby. What up? Sorry, the cat is demanding attention. And I shall give. Ava's reply doesn't surprise me in the least. In her arrogance, she is unable to conceive that Arthur and I could possibly know things about how the record works which she is unaware of. I pretend to reconsider the advantages and disadvantages before saying, "All right, I accept your terms." Eva holds out her hand across the desk. I shake it. I'm so pleased we've been able to reach a mutual agreement. The lodge has detested violence since it began, as perhaps you know. She looks up at Jakub, who still stands behind me. I turn to him. Alice, I am truly, truly sorry for the accident which cost your friend his life. I sincerely hope that the Koros places you in an emanation in which you can find him again. What happened? We thought he had the record. We confronted him to get it back. He tried to run. He was hit by a car. He was killed on the spot. It was more than 3 years ago, but I still think about it every day. Once again, I am so sorry for what happened. Let's hope the record gives him back to me. Jakub lowers his head in agreement, then returns to his place at the end of the room near the door. Ava checks her watch. Right, it's almost time. I'm going to have to get ready to host the council. Jakub will accompany you to the prayer room. Given the somewhat strange circumstances of your presence here, you will hear the chorus at the very end of the ceremony. It's been 13 years since we had a new inductee in our brotherhood. I hope you will be able to respect our rights. I'm counting on your sense of decency and on your discretion. I nod. Very well, I thank you in advance. Mr. Novak, if you would accompany our guest to the prayer room. Eva picks up the record and her notes and leaves the room. Jakub and I follow her out. The prayer room is situated on the ground floor. Oh my god, why are they naked? It's a long rectangular room with a checkerboard marble floor. The room doesn't look as if it's been renovated in the last 20 years, which would lead one to suppose that Ernst Lawrence had in fact bought a former Masonic temple at the moment of the Iron Curtain fell, probably aiming to cover up the true allegiance of the Lodge, or rather its lack of allegiance. I already forgot how to say this. Stop! He's trying to steal my pencil. The assembly must number around 30 people gathered into two groups on either side of the room, leaving a central aisle free. After a few minutes of silence mingled with those whispering around the room, Eva makes her entrance. She walks with a measured step to the other side of the room, mounts the platform there, and addresses the assembly in a strong, clear voice. My very honored brothers and sisters, I must thank you for coming so numerous and for some so far in such a short time. I would not have convoked you to this exceptional council if I didn't have excellent news. Since the death of our sovereign protector, Ernst Lawrence, we have moved heaven and earth to find it. Today it gives me great joy to tell you that the chorus has finally been returned to us. After a long crossing of the desert, the Ioncados, it's not how you say it, but I don't remember it, will finally be reborn. All of you here, the most loyal, have kept faith in the Brotherhood, in the teachings of my father, and my government as the second sovereign protector. All of you will be rewarded when your time comes by the knowledge of the Koros. She holds out a hand towards us. For the first ceremony in 13 years, we have two beneficiaries. Our brother Jakub, who joined the lodge in little over 10 years ago, and our new brother Alexander, who represents the new blood of our organization. Both have been instrumental in the recuperation of the Koros, and the Grand Council has decided to reward them for their devotion to the cause. They thus will be the first to be liberated from the false world and to rise above the chaos of the multiple emanations of the physical reality. Jakub stands up, approaches Eva, genuflects, then goes to sit on the throne. Eva places the record on the turntable while Jakub removes his cape and puts the headphones on over his ears. Brother Jakub, are you ready to no longer be the slave of the false creator, to take yourself from the emanations of the false world, and to receive the light of knowledge? Yes, sovereign protector. Eva switches on the turntable. The room fills with sparkling reflections. Then the needle of the turntable reaches the central groove. Everything returns to normal. Jakub takes the headphones from his ears. There's something subtly different about him. Perhaps his stubble is a little less closely shaved, or maybe it's his hair, which is slightly less peppered with gray. Or maybe it's something in his posture. He looks better. He looked like sickly. The assembly applauds as he rises and goes to sit on the left of the stage with the two people who wear the purple capes. The ritual repeats itself for my other neighbor Alexander. Once again, the strange shimmering in the air, which stops when the record ends. It's Alexander's turn to go and sit on the left, next to the initiates, then Eva speaks again. As is the custom, I will take my turn to hear the chorus. As sovereign protector of the Ioncados Lodge, my role is to perpetuate our community and to make it grow. That's why I'm going to make myself place the lodge in the most propitious available emanation, as the great masters present here will testify on my return. Ava sits, puts the headphones on, and starts the record. For the third time, the air begins to vibrate with glittering particles. This time, the room also seems to change. Heavy velvet drapes appear on the wall, and furniture becomes more opulent. When the record ends, the assembly applaud, and the room, which was half empty, is now full, suddenly holding a multitude of new caved initiates. For the first time, I am fully conscious of the danger the record presents. Put in the wrong hands. If Ava is as ambitious as Arthur Pullman believes, the Ironcados Lodge could quickly concentrate so much wealth and influence that she would become uncontrollable. Oh. She lays the headphones on the table, and I notice that her hair has grown, intensifying the air of great pagan priestess. Before closing this council, I would like one last person to hear the chorus. We have among us this evening the previous guardian of the record who lost someone dear to her heart in previous emanation. When she arrived at the lodge door earlier, I asked her to join our ranks. She accepted my proposition. In order to make her investiture official, the Board of Masters and myself, sovereign protector of the Ironcair's Lodge, have decided that she also will hear the chorus this evening. Ava gestures me to approach. Alice, if you would take your place. I sit on the throne, place the headphones over my ears, then I start the record. A guitar note pierces the air, almost feedback. The eyes of the assembly are fixed on me. Sparkling reflections emerge. I look at Ava one last time. She stares back, impassive. The light twists and knots. I turn my gaze inward, searching for Ulysses.
In spring we met, in the fall we came undone. I am for the middle of the road, summer of our love. Sunset over the roofs, stars shimmering like mirages. The golden hour, the right time, the time to put the record clean, the time to bring you back from the mists of oblivion. A new emanation. I put the headphones down as you enter the room. Sun to my moon.
Alice. Ulysses comes into the room as the record I'm listening to ends. I remember this moment. What I hadn't noticed the first time I lived this moment was the record that he has under his arm. A 7-inch with a wide sleeve. I thought you were going out this evening. He walks over to me, bends down to my height, and plants a kiss on my lips. His hands tremble slightly. He seems shaken. It's the point. Ulysses, I don't have much time and I have a lot to tell you. Ulysses backs off and looks at me concerned. What do you mean? What is it, Alice? I point at the record which he had laid at the coffee table. Have you listened to it? Yes, I just bought it. It was part of the batch of Psychedelic. A big collector by the bay. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. But how do you know about the record? It's an acetate, probably unique. Elise, what I'm going to tell you is going to be hard to believe, but I'm going to ask you to trust me. Elise nods and replies without hesitation. Of course, Alice, tell me. I've come from the future, Ulysses. A record allows you to change your past when you listen to it. In this future, you're dead because of this record. Alice, you're scaring me. I'm very serious. My time here in this moment is limited. It's vital that I listen to the record before I get sent back to the present to avoid that the future I come from happens again. I'm going to ask you to promise me just one thing. When I finish listening to the record, you take it and you disappear. Why don't you tell him to just destroy it? I disappear? Leave Bordeaux. Don't try to learn more about the record. Just keep it in a safe place, please. It's the only way, Ulysse. I'm sorry. With a bit of luck, I'll still have the memory of the future after I listen to the record, in which case I'll tell you everything. But if I don't, I'm going to ask you to trust me. I take the record from the coffee table and put it in place on the turntable. I pick up the headphones and before putting them over my ears, I glance at Ulysse one last time. Sign of affection. I lay down the headphones, go over to Ulysse and take him in my arms tight. Find me in 4 years. If I haven't been able to tell you everything before that, I'll explain everything then. He returns my embrace before kissing me passionately. I sit by the record player and prepare to put on the headphones. Alice, wait, please. I pause. You know you have all my love and trust, but do you realize what you're asking of me? A sigh escapes me. Ulysse, I'd like to have the time to tell you more, to tell you everything. But my consciousness could leave this moment in our past at any minute, and if I haven't listened to the record before that, it would be a catastrophe. Ulysse watches me with bewilderment as I finish putting on the headphones, unless it's sadness or simply affection. I hesitate for an instant as I pick up the tone arm before I remind myself that I have no choice. I don't have the right to hesitate nor to change my mind. I don't want to let Ava have the record. I want to make it as likely as possible that Ulysse will still be alive in my new present, even if it is at the expense of my reality, of my identity. I take a deep breath, then, with renewed determination, I place the needle in the groove. The music hits me and engulfs me like a wave of sound. The living room of our little apartment gleams as though filled with underwater sunlight. The air vibrates with the sonic surfs which submerges my consciousness. I am carried away on the tide as the last rays of sunset vanish behind the Bordeaux rooftops.
Moon devours the sun, a sonic wave engulfs me. As I drown in the mists of oblivion, I sacrifice my whole self on the altar of your survival.
On the altar of your survival?
Lost and found.
I am not kidding when I say I love these lyrics.
My soul's torn in pieces.
Also, that's beautiful.
Until nothing remains, my whole self is lost. I am laid bare before the creation. The wave crashes on the shore of this alien world, a new emanation, and as the sun retreats, I see what I've become. I sleep into a liking glow. The old
I take 2 steaming cups of coffee that John passes me over the counter, put down my change in payment, and thank him with a shy smile, as usual. I saunter back up the road towards yard sale records. The first rays of the spring morning sun gently warm my skin. It's pleasant after all those days of drizzle, fog, and downpours. 6 months. 6 months have passed since Prague. Life carried on. At least another life. In this reality, I work for Yard Sale Records. I live in a little apartment in Camden, 15 minutes walk from the shop. Life in London is great, with a rich and varied music scene. I've become friends with Beth and Garrett. We often go to see concerts together. And the job itself is pretty good. I make a living listening to music, talking about music and telling the customers about the records that rock my world. I find it far more satisfying than studying loan files. When I reach the store, Garrett has just opened up. I put his coffee on the counter. Oh, thanks, Alice. You're welcome. Simon insisted on going to a club after the concert last night. This caffeine's going to be a lifesaver. I suppose Alan's not up yet? Garrett laughs. Alan? Get up before 11 on a day when he's not doing the opening? Yeah, he's definitely a night owl. I suppose he spent another night doing the orders and the books. Oh hey, actually, the postman passed earlier. There's some post for you. Shouldn't it be passed by? Like, he passed means he died. Oh really? It's odd that it came here and not to my place. Garrett shrugs. I put everything upstairs on Alan's desk as usual. Okay, I'll go take a look. I'm kind of curious. I climb the stairs up to the first floor. Today's mail sits in the middle of Alan's desk. I go over to it. At the top of the pile, a postcard. Ancient ruins overlooking a turquoise sea caption. Mykonos. I turn it over and instantly recognize Ulyse's disjointed handwriting. Alice. We said we'd see each other in 4 years. Do you remember? I'm in Mykonos. Can you meet me there? Ulysse. Beneath the signature, there's a telephone number. My heart pounds. After such a long time, I'd given up on the record. And Ulysse and all of it. What's waiting for me there? How will I react when I finally see him after all these years? I've got no idea. I suppose I've got nothing left but to pack my bags. Direction. Greece. Epilogue. What'd this mean? Acknowledgement. The lane that climbs up towards the village is steep. The bus dropped me at the bottom at the junction with the main road. The glaring lights of the June sun cast the terrain of the island into stark relief, and the last few hundred yards left for me to traverse seem almost monumental to my eyes. I stop for a while in the shade of an olive tree. The white plastered houses are sharply edged against the ultramarine of the Greek sky. The quiet is absolute, punctuated only by the cry of seagulls and the buzzing of insects. I start to climb again. The main street leads to a shady little square. On the northern side, a cave with an awning. Go over. On the left, a group of old men sit around a table playing cards, cigarettes hanging from the corners of their mouths. On the right, a young woman drinks her coffee as she reads her local newspaper. Further away at the back, Ulysse watches me arrive. I walk over to him, trying to control the galloping of my heart. I'm not sure how I should behave, how I should greet him after all this time. I bend down to kiss him on the cheek. He seems a little startled, but says nothing. Did he expect more affection? Did he expect more reserve? I can't tell. I need closure with this Ulysse, the man who I used to know like the back of my hand, and I need to face the fact that we have become different people. Not knowing what to say, I smile shyly. He smiles back at me, and relenting, he breaks the silence. Alice. Then it's my turn to acknowledge him, to affirm that I know who he is, and as he's done for me. Elise. Thank you for coming. He raises his hand to attract the attention of the waiter near our table. A few minutes later, they bring us a bottle of Rocky and a carafe of ice water. Elise takes a mouthful and lets out a long sigh. I don't know where to begin. I've dreamt of this moment for so long when we'd finally find each other after all our wanderings. And now, when you're finally here, right there in front of me, I can't find the words. Sympathize. I understand. After all these years, it's difficult for me too. Elise laughs. Tell me, Alice, what's your life like? You seem different, and yet I also get the sense of finding you again. I don't know if what I'm saying makes the least bit of sense. So tell me, are you happy in this reality? I don't know. I don't know, Elise. The record took everything I knew and turned it upside down. I'll need time to find some balance, some stability. I promise you, I did everything I could to spare you. I sacrificed our relationship so that you could be free of the record, but in the end, it didn't work. What do you mean you sacrificed our relationship? Elise takes a deep breath. In the original reality, we were together. We were happy. You were in a band and you helped Mark and me in the store when you could. I tense up as I realize what Elise is telling me. Somewhere deep down, I had already suspected this. I decide not to interrupt to let him go on. That damned record came into our lives and turned everything upside down. We wanted to understand what it was, where it came from. We followed up the leads together. First Paris, then the Commune in Bavaria. We were in London when it happened. We were preparing to go up to bsky to meet Arthur Pullman. That's where Kara's lodge caught up with us. I was scared. I wanted to protect you. I went back into the past and I changed reality. I put you somewhere safe in a world where you'd never heard of the record. I get it, Elise. The record, it corrupts everything it touches. I could easily have made the same decision as you. I know now, Alice, it was a mistake, madness. I realized straight after I'd done it. I hated myself. I wished I hadn't done it. The lodge was still after me. It had changed to nothing. What happened after that? I abandoned the idea of going up to bsky. I thought the lodge knew that was our next destination, and I was almost sure I would be intercepted by Ava or one of her fanatics. I backtracked to Paris. When I realized they were still on my heels, I sent the record to you in Bordeaux to prevent it being stolen from me. And sure enough, my intuition was right. They tried to steal it right that very night. I waited a few days for them to let their guard down a bit, then I took the train for Bordeaux, where I discovered that you were gone. I started to track you down, first Paris, then London. Each time I missed you by 1 or 2 days. Then there was a void, a sensation of drowning in the nothingness of the cosmos. It seemed to last an eternity, or perhaps a second. I don't really know what happened. Do you just want attention from me? I'm sorry I'm staying up so late. I'll go to sleep soon. I'll just finish the game and we'll be able to sleep. Okay, kitty? Aww. What are you doing? I don't really know what happened. When I regained consciousness, I was here in Mykonos, with the record in my suitcase and a vague memory of the precise moment in the past when you'd arranged to meet me in 4 years. What did you do after that? I took some time to find my feet. I was at the other end of Europe. I tried to understand what had brought me here. Then I tried to find you, and that wasn't a mean feat. From Mykonos, with my limited finances. You got my postcard, I got your phone call, and now here we are. Right. Now it's your turn to tell me. I've got a feeling that your adventures have been even more exciting. I take a breath, then tell him everything. From the beginning, all in one go. Bordeaux, Jean-Baptiste, who I hadn't thought of in the months. The record, Paris and London. In Glasgow, listening to the record again. Arthur Pullman, discovering Ulysses' death and new reality. Prague. Finally, my new life. He listens carefully, without interrupting, as the sun descends little by little towards the sea, lengthening the shadows beneath the awning. Then I stop talking. Julius takes a minute to take on board all of this new information. So I was dead, and you brought me back to life by changing the past. Yes. Now I understand that sensation of emptiness which I had trouble shaking off when I woke up here in Greece. By the way, you haven't told me why you asked me to meet you here specifically. Wouldn't it have been simpler to meet in Athens, or at least near an airport? Julius gives me a roguish smile. There's something I wanted to show you. Come on. He stands up, picks up his fat hiker's backpack, which leans against the table leg, and slips it on. Then he digs a few coins from his pocket and drops them on the table to pay for our drinks. There's a kitty! Alice is petting a kitty. We cross a village in silence and go down the road towards the coast. After several hundred yards, we reach the site of an archaeological dig. Part of the excavation site has been covered with tarpaulins. Another part suggests the remains of an ancient temple, which would have been built here a few millennia ago. Apparently the site was only recently discovered. The dig has been halted because of budget cuts, and as we're quite a long way from the tourist zones, it would seem the authorities haven't taken the trouble to close the area off to the public. Come on. Elise beckons me to follow him. We go around the excavation zone, then retrace our steps on the other side. Behind us, the sea sparkles below. From this point of view, we can see the frontispiece stones which have been unearthed, and which display some astonishing carvings. The cat went with us, that's so cute. The right side is missing, but on the left side we can make out a kind of chimera, half woman, half eagle, which appears to guard the central part, which depicts a kind of music box, its shape almost anachronistic. Did you know that at the start in mythology, the sirens weren't fishwomen but birds, with the torso and face of a woman? I turn to Yuli's, which means that he smiles at me. Yes, when you told me to flee 4 years ago, it would seem that I decided to go in search of the origins of the record, but not the origins of our plastic disc, the true origins. And it brought me here. And to this mysterious temple, which appears to pose a real puzzle to the archaeologists and historians who have studied its history. According to the information that I've been able to gather, it's a place of worship of a very ancient Gnostic sect, and our record is the result of the rediscovery of an ancient knowledge which would have first been found here. Are you familiar with the discography of Magma? I mean, I guess she is. An old French psychedelic, prog rock band, kind of the same vein as Gong, right? They're pretty dated, aren't they? Well, yes, but that's not the point. Christian Vander, the drummer, and the brains of the band invented the language combined. Yeah, that's the thing, which most of their lyrics are written in. It's so interesting. The goal of the language is to express emotions in a profoundly musical form. For example, if you stub your toe on a corner of a table, you wouldn't say, "Ouch, I hurt myself," but instead you'd scream of pain. Okay, I see the idea, it's entertaining, but I still don't see what you're getting at. In this language, there's a particular term. Zul. I raise a skeptical eyebrow. Zul? Yes, Zul. What Vander wanted to convey with the term is the idea of the perfect note at the perfect moment. A kind of musical ecstasy which allows us human beings to glimpse an instant of the divine. Ulysse puts his backpack at his feet and opens it. He takes out a 7-inch record and a familiar wide sleeve. He looks at it for a minute, his expression unreadable, then he adds, "I believe that this record, this music of the spheres, is the culmination of this quest for the absolute." He holds the record out to me. I take it. I've kept it safe until I found you again, Alice. It's out of question for me to play it again. This record stole my life, our life. It stole the woman I loved from me. Elise looks at me with a wild intensity. "That's so pretty." He takes off his glasses and wipe away the tear which trickles down his cheek. "I know that you're not still her. The woman I loved from the very depths of my heart, Alice. And I know that I'm probably not me either, the man I was when we were happy together." Elise puts his backpack down again and takes out a little travel record player. He puts it down next to his pack, then he pulls out a pair of headphones, which he places on the cover of the tapaz. It seemed appropriate to me that our story should finish in the place where the record story began. Elise turns towards the sea, towards the horizon. "Do what you want, Alice. I put it in your hands." Then he takes a few steps away, towards the coast below. I take the record from its sleeve and hold it between my hands, undecided. I want to destroy it. Why would I listen to it? I place the record on the ground, and with one thrust of my heel I shatter it. No divine justice strikes me down. Just the golden light of the setting sun over the Aegon. I don't know. Ulysse has not turned back. He continues to look out to sea. Behind me, the lane leads back towards the village, towards the city, toward my life. Before me, Ulysse. Perhaps the rebirth of a destiny in shreds, or at least the promise of something like it. I walk over to Ulysse and take his hand in mine. He looks at me and smiles. I smile back. Then my eyes are drawn to the open sea. And as I let the beauty of the world overwhelm me, my mind travels to the rhythm of a strange and intimate melody.
I've been wondering, I've seen the world mutate and change around me. I have explored the permutation of realities in search of him, in search of me. And there I was, in hold of someone else's that I've been, in hold the halls of Alice's, were me and that's me, in the infinities of the real, in the colors emanations of the ever-changing world of creation. these kids around, different paths leading into different prisons, different tracks on the playlist of my life.
The visuals of this game are amazing.
That's where I found myself.
I mean, I've always liked this style.
Inside of this void that slumbers across the road.
Man. Achievement unlocked postcard. Pop art. English pressing. Eclectic tastes. High fidelity. Crossroads. Acid trip. Hey, Mr. Crowley. Old books. The Hermit. Made for a Motor Club. Penny Lane. Full Circle. Wait, if the top ones are like different Alices, right? That's so many. Oh god. I mean, like, I would love to play that again and just explore everything, but I feel like that would take years. Not really. Swinging London or English pressing. Life on Mars, Blue Note. Pop art, Bohemian Life, Painted Black, Cool Thing. Oh, and it's based on my choices? So these two, for example, would be like the choice you have when you're listening to the record. So I just chose one of the two possibilities that you can get while listening to a record. But it is also based on like the, I guess, personality traits or something. Because I'm assuming the last one is just the one you can choose after this ending. So just instead of destroying the record, you can go back and change something. That was so good, and I didn't expect it to be that good. And it seems to be so widely different depending on what you do. Like, just the fact that we can get 8 different... I got 2 of them. Like, that's so little. You know? It was a really, really good game. That said, it is 4:30 a.m. I need to sleep. I hope you enjoyed the game. I enjoyed it immensely. It was so good. And also, as I said during the playthrough, the music in it, the songs, I really loved the lyrics to them. Like, as an aspiring songwriter, I am just kind of... It is inspiring. It is very inspiring. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Good night to me, and I'm sure he can't wait to just sleep, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you, and see you next time.